Welcome back to Wrestling Flash. In this WWE and all things wrestling video we are going to look at Randy Orton dances to Bianca Belair's theme song, the best and worst of SmackDown, Roman Reigns' next monstrous challenger, WWE confirms Roman Reigns' next opponent at SmackDown taping. First let's look at the best and worst of SmackDown. Welcome to this week's edition of Best and Worst of SmackDown. For the first time in a while, the worst unfortunately outnumbered the best. Even with average shows, we do our best to highlight the more positive and exciting side. But very little that WWE did this week hit the right note. So what was it that went wrong with the episode? Let's take a look at the ups and downs of a bizarre and somewhat underwhelming episode of SmackDown. Number 2. Best, RK Bros' momentum and possible alliance with Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. One of the few highlights of SmackDown this week was the continued momentum of RK Bro and their tease of an alliance with Drew McIntyre. Before Riddle's match against Jey Uso, there was a backstage segment with McIntyre, where Randy Orton and the Scotsman buried the hatchet. Drew McIntyre teased a feud with Roman Reigns when he stated that any enemy of the bloodline is a friend of his. It was a nice little moment on SmackDown as Riddle tried to play the mediator between the two old rivals, only to realize that he didn't need to do so. Number 3. Worst, WWE quietly forgets Roman Reigns vs Nakamura. It seems as though WWE may have quietly dropped the Roman Reigns-Nakamura feud. While it seemed as though Nakamura would be Reigns' first post-WrestleMania challenger, nothing has been made of it ever since. Hopefully, he does return to start the feud. If it has been dropped, then it's a real shame. Nakamura didn't get his deserved title shot in early 2021, and it would be unfortunate if WWE nixed another plan for a feud against Roman Reigns. Number 2. Worst, Ronda Rousey vs Charlotte Flair continues to drag on. The opening segment this week was a contract signing between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair. It was a poor segment, and Drew Gulak was once again treated as a sacrificial lamb. He is trying to become Adam Pearce's new assistant. This time around, he suffered another attack, but at the hands of Ronda Rousey instead. We're not sure how it made her come across as a babyface. Either way, the feud is dragging on, and hopefully it concludes with a big title change in the end. Number 1. Best, keeping the women's tag team division active. We will give WWE credit where it's due. They seem to be very active with booking the women's tag team division. At this moment, the issue is the general lack of teams. The ones that exist are all thrown together with little to no history, and some have already broken up. It's going to be a bit challenging in the long run to find contenders, but it's not impossible. This week, Natalya and Shayna Baszler challenged Sasha Banks and Naomi in what was a good segment. Number 1. Worst, the SmackDown main event outcome. The main event of SmackDown featured Drew McIntyre vs Sami Zayn in a lumberjack match. The objective of a lumberjack match is to ensure that none of the competitors can escape. But that's exactly what happened when a brawl broke out at ringside and Sami Zayn once again ran away. A furious Adam Pearce said that the two would meet again next week, this time inside a steel cage. It was an underwhelming end to an underwhelming show. Roman Reigns' next monstrous challenger. Roman Reigns is WWE's most bankable superstar at the moment, and his long reign of dominance has seen WWE steadily run out of credible opponents for the Tribal Chief. During the latest Smack Talk episode, Dutch Mantel commented on Gunther's potential as a future main event player on SmackDown. The man formerly known as Walter has squashed local competitors in recent weeks and looks set to receive a healthy push through the cards during the post-WrestleMania season. While Gunther could be a future rival for Reigns, Mantel believes that the former NXT United Kingdom champion is also an ideal opponent in the making for programs against Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Gunther held the UK title for a record-setting 870 days, the longest championship reign in WWE since 1988. The former WWE manager was impressed by the Austrian star's look and was looking forward to seeing him develop on WWE TV. So, all they got to do when they finally out a guy in there, that he is a good opponent for Roman Reigns, a good opponent for Drew McIntyre, and a good opponent for Randy Orton, said Dutch Mantel. So, when you think, now you've got to bench a little bit. The bench is starting to take shape a little bit, but the only heel you've really got is Roman. He is the only heel you've got that's working and marketable. So, if they get Gunther over there, I love the look. I like his little manager. I like the red outfits they got on. Gunther picked up a comfortable victory over Teddy Goods on SmackDown, and the former NXT star now has 2 consecutive wins under his belt on the main roster. While the live crowd is yet to warm up to the 34-year-old superstar, Dutch Mantel said there was no need to worry. The one-sided squash matches don't give fans much to cheer about. And Mantel noted that the early reception should not hamper Vince McMahon and his team's plans to prepare Gunther for a prominent spot. They are prepping him right now. So, if the people are quiet, they know that guy is not going to beat him. What else are they going to yell for anyway? They know he is a job guy, explained Dutch. They know he is getting as a beat. They just wanted to enjoy seeing as a beating. They are not taking it. He is. Could Gunther establish himself as a top-tier talent on SmackDown in the upcoming months? Sound off in the comments section below. Randy Orton dances to Bianca Belair's theme song. Randy Orton has been captured dancing to Bianca Belair's theme song at the end of tonight's SmackDown double taping. WWE taped next week's episode of the Friday night show in advance as the company will be touring Europe at the end of April. The Viper and Riddle were part of a contract signing alongside the Usos in the final segment of the taped episode. The two tag team champions will face each other in a unification match at WrestleMania Backlash. RK-Bro was taken out in a chaotic segment, during which Roman Reigns' next challenger was revealed. Twitter user Christine posted a video of Orton dancing to Belair's entrance music as the latter came out for a dark match against Sonya Deville. The Viper can be seen swinging his shirt as the EST of WWE does with her hair braid. Randy Orton celebrates 20 years as a WWE superstar this week. His first match was on the April 25th episode of SmackDown in 2002, where he surprisingly defeated Hardcore Holly. The Legend Killer has then gone on to achieve legendary status himself. He has won pretty much every championship available in WWE, including 14 world titles. Orton has enjoyed several memorable rivalries over the years with the likes of Triple H, The Undertaker, and John Cena, among others. The Viper is currently having the time of his life with him and Riddle reigning as the Raw Tag Team Champion. RK-Bro is the latest of many highlights from Randy Orton's 20-year run in WWE, as he continues to amaze fans with his consistency in the ring and as a character. WWE confirms Roman Reigns' next opponent at SmackDown taping. WWE has finally confirmed Roman Reigns' next opponent at tonight's double taping of SmackDown in Albany, New York. The company taped next week's episode of the Blue Brand tonight, as it will be touring Europe at the end of April. Don't go any further if you don't want to know what happens on next week's episode of SmackDown. Warning, spoiler alert. Twitter user Christine attended SmackDown and tweeted a few videos from the double taping. She captured moments during Drew McIntyre's steel cage match against Sami Zayn and the Beat the Clock challenge between Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey without giving away the outcome of the matches. Both of the bouts were announced for the April 29th episode, as was the contract signing for the tag team title unification match at WrestleMania Backlash. RK-Bro and the Usos seemingly signed the contract before Roman Reigns' music hit. The Tribal Chief's arrival distracted Randy Orton and Riddle, allowing Jimmy and Jey Uso to attack them. After that, Drew McIntyre followed Reigns out. The two had a brief stare down and started fighting, with the Scottish Warrior hitting an overhead belly-to-belly suplex on the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Christine clarified that the confrontation was not a dark match or segment. This aligns with the events of this week's episode, with McIntyre teasing a feud with Reigns during a backstage segment alongside RK-Bro. Reports from earlier this week stated that Roman Reigns will be in the main event of WrestleMania Backlash, despite WWE not booking anything for him yet. Now that his feud with Drew McIntyre has seemingly kicked off, the two will likely headline the premium live event on May 8th. It remains to be seen how WWE books the rest of this rivalry on SmackDown, especially with McIntyre stating his desire to face Reigns at the UK Stadium show in September. The Scottish Warrior told BT Sport that the Tribal Chief would be his ideal opponent at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. What do you think of Drew McIntyre being Roman Reigns' next opponent? Let us know in the comments section below.